Yo, what's going on, guys? KrispyFlakes here. Welcome to Inside the NBA Mind. For today's video, we are going to be going into the mind of a New York Knicks superfan. So we have CP joining us from the YouTube channel known as KnicksFanTV. He has about 10,000 subscribers, also has an Instagram and Twitter account. But pretty much, like, if there's anything to be said about the New York Knicks, you want to go to his channel, guys. Straight up, man. Like, this guy knows his stuff. They have a ton of great discussions over there. So we're going to bring him on, you know, kind of like ask him about this upcoming offseason, some of the big rumors going around, some of the things from last season, some of the bright spots to look at. So before we bring CP on here, if you guys could do me a quick favor and please drop a like on this video. Help me get the 1,000 likes. Only takes a second out of your day. And of course, man, it just helps the channel out so much. So here we go. We are going to bring on CP. And all right, yo, how's it going, man?
Yo, KrispyFlakes, doing good, man. How you feeling, bro?
Doing good. So yeah, we are here, of course, to talk about your New York Knicks. Before we do that, do you want to like kind of tell people about yourself and kind of what you're all about?
Hey, man, so CP from the KnicksFanTV. KnicksFanTV is all about a community for the fans, by the fans. We primarily serve the fans on YouTube. We do videos on Knicks news, Knicks rumors, documentary style videos, and our biggest show is our post-game live stream, which is a live stream that we do after every game, after every major event. We take fan phone calls. We take fan opinions via all social network chats. We stream the show live on Facebook, Twitter,
Hey, man, you got
Twitch.
You got it all going there.
We got it all going, man. So we want to reach out to the fan all over the world. That's a primary goal. And the goal is just, you know, the one thing about Knicks fans is that we love to talk about Knicks. No matter how good or bad the team is, we love to talk about Knicks. And that's what the platform does. It just gives the fans an opportunity to have an opinion, have their say on the team. And, you know, you can do this, you know, you have your ESPN radios and stuff like that where you can call in, but, you know, they're flooded with commercials. They might take 5 or so calls before they go to commercial. We're commercial free. We let everybody in before the show's over. We're on after the game, making sure that we respond to every comment in the chat. And, you know, it's just much more inclusive of our global audience.
Very nice. Okay, so we are going to be talking about some of the things from this previous season, this upcoming offseason, everything like that. How long have you been a Knicks fan for?
Listen, man, I've been a Knicks fan for over 30 years. I just missed the Bernard King era. I was here for the Patrick Ewing era, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've been a loyal, diehard Knicks fan for the last 30 years, man. And I've been through it all, seen it all, from the good times to the absolutely terrible times, the embarrassing moments, the terrible trades, the terrible draft picks, you name it, man. So it's the biggest offseason of our lifetime as Knicks fans, and hopefully we come through. Hopefully this management team comes through for us.
Right. Okay, so last season you guys win 17-65. Obviously, you know, a tanking season because you guys have a ton of cap space freed up this upcoming NBA offseason. But looking back at that season, you know, through all the misery and the losing and everything like that, what were some of the bright spots you kind of saw out there and some things that kind of gave you hope going into this next upcoming offseason and the NBA season?
Yeah, well, no doubt about it, man. It was a tough season. I watched every single game as the host of the post-game show. I had to. And 17-65, it was tough to witness, but we knew what the plan was going in. So obviously it was hard to take, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, the purpose was to get as high as a draft pick as we can. And yes, the lottery rules have changed, but you know, knowing that we're going to pick in the draft between 1 to 5 is a good consolation prize for a long season. On the positive side, I think no doubt about it, I had to look at the 3 rookies that we got in the last offseason. I mean, going into it, you know, knowing that we got Kevin Knox in the lottery, we got Mitchell Robinson with the 36th pick, and we got ISO Zoe going undrafted. There's no doubt about it that there's no other team in the NBA that came in with 3 first-round grade talents in this last offseason between the draft and undrafted free agency than the Knicks. I mean, Kevin Knox, you know, listen, he had his ups and downs. Statistically speaking, one of the worst rookies in the league when you talk about real plus minus on the offensive and defensive end, when you talk about his usage rating, when you talk about his effective shooting, his true shooting percentage, he wasn't great. He wasn't great, but still, he had his ups and downs. He had his highlights in December when he won Rookie of the Month, and I thought he still finished the season strong in the month of March and April. I thought he finished fairly well on both ends. Mitchell Robinson was the story of the season. Nobody knew what this kid was going to bring to the table. Last offseason coming into the draft, I thought that with that second round pick, I wanted us to get a big man who could, rebound, block some shots, be rugged, play some good defense. And Mitchell Robinson did more than that for us.
Yeah, I was actually hearing about him. Like, there was rumors out there that he might actually try to expand his range out to the 3-point line. And I just keep on thinking like Rudy Gobert with a 3-point shot. Like, I think he's got that type of potential out there.
Absolutely, man. I mean, on the defensive end, the defensive prowess was absolutely amazing. Finished second in the league in blocks. Broke many Knicks rookie records in block shots, NBA records in block shots. If he expands his game, I'm not looking for him to be Dirk Nowitzki out there, but if he can just make a defense honest, maybe a little turnaround jump hook, a nice little mid-range shot. If he can hit the three, so be it. But yeah, I think that would be a nice step in the evolution of his game. But the lobs are there, and the defense is certainly there.
Would you be okay if he kind of turned out to just kind of be like a DeAndre Jordan or Rudy Gobert, just a guy that cleans up on the glass and throws through shots back? Do you feel like that would be okay in this era of basketball?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, there's 5 guys on the court. Everybody can't be a shooter. Obviously, in this positionless basketball style of play that the NBA is moving to, yes, you still want to keep a respectable jump shot. But, I mean, listen, if he can impact the game the way he does on the defensive end, catch a couple lobs, from a more than capable point guard that we have on this team, I think his value is going to be golden for this team going forward.
Very nice. Okay, so there has been some reports out there that the Knicks would be interested in trading away their first-round draft pick, which is probably going to be Zion Williamson, or, of course, a few other guys. Now, would you rather take your chances with Zion, or would you personally trade away the pick if given the opportunity, and what type of trade package would you want for him?
Oh, man, this is a tough question, and this is a question that I've been, hosting on my live streams with the fans. If we were to trade, first off, I need promises that we're going to fill those 2 max slots with 1A, definitely Kevin Durant, and 1B being either Kyrie Irving, to a lesser extent, Kemba Walker. If I know I'm getting those guys, I may entertain a trade for Anthony Davis, but that's the only player that would ever be worth that number 1 pick in Zion.
Right.
Now, the issue is that salaries have to match up. So you're not just trading Zion for Anthony Davis. You're going to have to trade Zion. You're going to have to trade Kevin Knox. You're going to have to trade Dennis Smith Jr. New Orleans might want Mitchell Robinson, who's a hometown kid. You may have to put in other draft picks. So the Knicks fan in me, who's been so used to these type of trades going terribly, where we're losing all of our youth and all of our flexibility, I might shy away from that and try to build with the Zion with those 2 max players.
Right.
But it's certainly an intriguing possibility, an intriguing idea.
Yeah, I think it's best just to go with Zion. I mean, he's obviously the talk out there and stuff, so I don't think the Knicks can go wrong either way. Like, I do feel like they are going to draft the right player, and if a trade does happen, then they will get like an Anthony Davis caliber player for him. So, seems like it should be a win-win either way, but at the same time, if the past is an indication, then mistakes definitely can happen.
Well, the lottery's first, man. May 14th is the first date of this important off season. So let's see if the basketball gods will be kind to us and give us that number 1 pick.
Yep. Okay. Next, let's talk some Frank Ntilikina. So we are a few seasons into his career. Do you still see him as a guy that can become something special for this team, or do you feel like it's just kind of time to move on and give him a chance somewhere else, or do you just feel like he's going to fall out of the NBA in general?
French Prince. Listen, there's no doubt about it that Frank Ntilikina has had a lackluster tenure with the Knicks so far. He didn't really have the sophomore campaign that we had hoped he would have. Certainly, you like what he can bring on the defensive end. And even at times on offense, he seemed to run an offense fairly decent. But, there was a lot that you didn't like about Frank. Number 1 is durability. He only played about 40 games this season, didn't stay healthy this year or last year. The shooting, terrible shooter from a usage standpoint.
Right.
You know, he just never had that killer instinct that you're looking for.
Right.
You know, you want a guy that's going to go out there with confidence. Confidence was Frank Ntilikina's kryptonite since he's been here. And, you know, you definitely want to see that improve. I would rather see the Knicks keep him because I still think that with a talent infusion, I think that's when you'll truly see what he can provide to the team. And that's defense. Defense wins games. And, you know, like I said in the beginning with Mitchell Robinson, everybody doesn't have to be the flash in the pan. Everybody doesn't have to be the high flyer and the scorer. You know, Frank Ntilikina can play his role as a solid defender off the bench and maybe somebody who you go to rely on in crunch time to play the opposing team's number one guy. Then I think that will be his role. And if it's going to be a specialty role, then so be it. But I don't see it being much more than that, you know, a bench defensive specialist going forward.
And I think it kind of shows, too, with like the OKC Thunder, how much they missed Andre Roberson this season, or, you know, how great Tony Allen was for the Memphis Grizzlies. Those just like defensive-oriented guys that solely do that, they can be difference makers out there. I think Frank Ntilikina, he at least has a floor as that, so, or I should say a ceiling as that. So, yeah, I think time will tell.
Absolutely. I mean, look at a guy like a Tony Allen on a team that is irrelevant or not competing. He means nothing to that team, you know, but when the team, like when he was on the Celtics and, you know, he was that, you know, linchpin piece off the bench, that's a solid piece that can really help a team turn the corner, you know, from a defensive standpoint. So I think that's what Frank's role can be in the future. And I like to see the Knicks stick it out and continue to develop.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so a lot of NBA personnel are saying that the Brooklyn Nets would be a much more enticing spot for a superstar free agent to sign this summer over the Knicks. So what are your thoughts on this, and what would you say to like a Kyrie Irving or a Kevin Durant as a reason why they should sign with the Knicks over the Nets?
I would say, listen, that is the biggest myth in NBA history. Do not be fooled. Listen, this is and always will be a New York Knicks town, no matter who the Nets have, no matter how successful the Nets are to be. This is a Knicks town. And, you know, listen, give credit to the Nets. They fought hard, they overachieved, and they made the playoffs this year. They ran up against a Sixer team that was way more talented and had way more experience, and the series ended in that fashion, 4-1. This is a Knicks town. It's about the brand, okay? If Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were really concerned about winning, then they would stay where they were, where they can make upwards to $50, $60, $70 million more. If Kyrie Irving stayed with the Celtics, he'd make $50 million more in one extra year of security and a better team. You know, let's say they go out and get Anthony Davis. That's a much better team than what we can put here with the Knicks. Kevin Durant, he can stay with the Warriors and go to the finals for who knows how many years straight with much more money. So, I mean, yes, it's about winning, but you want to win with a particular team. You want to win with the Knicks.
Right.
Knicks, you're a rock star. You're a god. You know, and that is the allure. It's not just about, okay, the Nets have a nice core and they made the playoffs. That doesn't matter. You know, Jared Dudley was interviewed today. It's funny that you asked that question. Jared Dudley was interviewed today, and he admitted, he said, listen, the Knicks will always be the story of the town. Say, well, the Nets have the culture, the foundation, and then he said the practice facility. I said practice facility. Nobody cares.
Right.
No free agent is going to come in and say, oh, Knicks and Nets. Well, the practice facility is better.
Right.
So I'm going to choose the Nets. It's all about the Knicks, man. Right. Even when the Knicks go 17-65, the hottest story all of basketball all year long was about the Knicks, man.
Fair enough.
That's what it's always about. And that's what I would tell these free agents, and they know that.
So if there's any Brooklyn Nets fans out there that want to come defend themselves against CP in the future, guys, just hit me up. We'll talk about that.
Hey, listen, I have no issues debating the Nets fan on this. They know it's true. And it's no hate. You know, listen, I've never hated the Nets. When the Nets went to the finals back-to-back those 2 years, I wanted them to win. You know, I wanted them to win as the local team. But
right.
If this is a Knicks town, you know, that's just what it is and what it will always be.
Right. Okay, so of course the big rumors out there is, you know, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. You kind of alluded to that already.
Yeah.
Who are some of the realistic free agents you see the Knicks getting this summer?
Well, realistically, I mean, my wish list are the 4Ks. It's Kevin Durant, it's Kawhi Leonard next, it's Kyrie Irving, or let's say the 5Ks. It's Klay Thompson, it's and to a lesser extent, Kemba Walker. Those are the premier free agents in this class, and those are the only guys that I'm willing to shell the money out for two max slots. Other than that, I would just look for lower rung free agents to try to bring in here. What the Knicks did do last year was they looked for some reclamation projects.
Mhm.
They brought in Noah Vonleh on the cheap, a guy that was a former lottery pick who has struggled since his rookie season to kind of find a fit in the NBA. He had his ups and downs with the team. He had some highs in the first half and kind of fizzled in the second. They traded for Moutier last year. Moutier this year had his best season of his career, best season with the Knicks as well. And they also brought in Hazonia, who was also a draft bust so far, and tried to kind of resurrect his career. Those are the type of guys who I would look for in terms of bottom rung free agents. Some guys that are young, guys that can be versatile in terms of the positions that they play. A guy like a Jermichael Green.
Mm-hmm.
He used to play for Fizdale in Memphis on the Grizzlies. Yeah, he's a rugged power forward. He can shoot the three fairly well. He's a tough player. He can defend multiple positions. That's the kind of guy, if we struck out on the top tier, I would look for somebody like that. I would also look for, a Patrick Beverley may come available. He's a guy that made $5 million this year. Will the Clippers look to bring him back? Probably. But, he's a guy that if you do get your two max players in Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, he's a guy that I would want to bring in as a solid veteran who can defend, a tough player, who knows what it would take to succeed here. A Pat Beverley would be another guy.
Right. And
lastly, maybe even a guy like a Trey Lyles. I know guys, Knicks fans would be like, this guy's nothing special. But listen, he's still a young guy. On Denver, he's a restricted free agent with Michael Porter Jr. probably coming back next year. Trey Lyles could be renounced and shake loose, and he might be a guy, at 6'10", who's shown to be fairly versatile. He could be a guy that you might want to bring in and continue to develop to see if you can, maximize his value.
right. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said too here. It's like, yeah, the team didn't play all that great, but just some of those guys, like you were saying, that would normally be a benchwarmer on a team, just them having a chance to get that NBA experience and getting that real game time. I think there's a lot to be said about that. Like Noah Vonleh and Mario, all those guys are better because of this previous season, despite the record.
Yeah, and that's what I say. I mean, despite the record, these guys had their highlights during the course of the year, and certainly had a fair share of lowlights. But those are the type of guys that I would look to bring in. Whether we strike out or not, those are the guys that I would try to bring in. But the mid tier guys like Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Vucevic, I would stay clear of those guys.
Yeah,
I would steer clear of those guys because they're just not going to help move the needle much on this team.
I agree with that 100%. All right, so let's assume that the Knicks end up getting, Durant and Kyrie and Zion all this offseason. What do you do with guys like Dennis Smith Jr. and Kevin Knox? Do they become part of the rotation? Do you look to trade those guys for maybe some veteran pieces? I guess, what do you do with them exactly?
DSJ, I would try to trade. The Knicks sorely need shooting. They certainly need defensive help in the front court. Maybe a veteran presence in the backcourt as well to kind of back up Kyrie. So if they get Kyrie Irving, I would try to trade Dennis Smith Jr. Absolutely. Okay. I'm not sure what his value would be. He's on his second team in as many years, so I'm not sure what the trade value would be with him. He needs to also prove that he's durable. But I think if they're able to trade him for a solid piece, I would do it. The second guy you mentioned was Kevin Knox.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Definitely want to keep Kevin Knox. Let him get another year under his belt, another offseason under his belt to get bigger, work on his defense, work on his shooting efficiency. And I think as the overall talent on this team improves, guys that can help him get, wide open looks, and hopefully he can knock them down this year, I think Kevin Knox should have a better sophomore season.
So do you see Knox being able to still become a starter because playing that small forward / power forward position, if Zion and Kevin Durant is taking that up,
No, and that if you're talking Kevin Durant and Zion, then you're gonna have to try Zion at the 3, Katie at the 4, Mitch at the 5. So you move Kevin Knox to the bench, but that's okay.
Right.
It could still be a solid 6-man, less pressure on him, and have him run with the second unit. All good.
Yeah, he's only like 19 or 20 years old, so it's like 7 years when he's entering his prime. It's like he's not going to be a bench player for the rest of his life. Just
exactly
for this.
Absolutely. So that'll certainly help with his development.
Okay, so let's assume that Zion is off the board. I think I know your answer to this one right here. Who would you like to see them draft?
If Zion is off the board, and let's say we have, the second or third pick. See, the thing is that with the draft being first, the agency be first, so that you can truly pick draft.
Yep.
Because if I already knew that I'm not getting Kyrie Irving, then I'm 1,000% going to go Ja Morant. Point guard. I don't know if Dennis Smith Jr. can be that guy. Ja Morant could be the floor general that we've been missing.
Right.
So I would still go Ja Morant, even if they get a Kyrie Irving. After that, if you got to bring him off the bench, if you ultimately got to trade him, maybe Phoenix gets 1 and they pick Zion 1 with the intention of getting Ja Morant 2. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's a trade there where you could still get Zion and trading Ja Morant. But, with this draft being known as being a top-heavy draft, I'm going to take Ja Morant over RJ Barrett, and I'll take my chances there. And whatever happens in free agency happens. But at least I know I got one of the top players in the draft, and that can still help my team regardless of what happens July 1st.
So would RJ Barrett kind of be like the third guy you're probably looking at in this case? I know like Ja and Zion's kind of the easier answers out there, but after that it gets a little bit more.
RJ Barrett, I mean, in this draft, I'm looking for a star potential, man. I'm looking for a star potential, and I think those are the 3 guys right now that have the biggest. It's Zion, it's Ja Morant, it's RJ Barrett. So I wouldn't be opposed to bringing RJ Barrett here. I know, a lot of fans, certainly Knicks fans, aren't too high on him as I am. Mm-hmm. But, I think one of the problems is that we look at these guys in college and to kind of evaluate what they're going to be as pros. And I don't think you have to be careful with that. You can't just look at what a dude did in college against, a bunch of players that likely won't be in the NBA to determine what their NBA potential is going to be, because you just never know. There's a lot of factors that play into how good a kid can truly be. But I think with RJ, I think he's well balanced. I think he defends well. I think he rebounds fairly well. I think he moves the ball fairly well when he wants to. His shooting has to improve, and his free throw shooting certainly has to improve. One thing that you can't coach is fire and desire. And I think that's one thing about RJ Barrett that I really like is his competitive will. He never quits. He never folds. And I think if he improves on his shooting, he improves on his free throw shooting, he's going to be a good player when you pair him with more talented players around him.
Okay. Okay, next question for you. So when it's all said and done, what will the New York Knicks starting 5 be at the beginning of next season?
What will the Knicks starting 5 be?
Yep.
All right, I'll throw in a little wrinkle here because honestly, as much as the rumors say, the negative fan always say that these things won't be likely. So here's what I'll say. I'll say at the point, it's going to be Kemba Walker. At the 2, this is good question. Good question. This is a good question. At the 2,
I'm gonna be surprised if I see you guys sneak Kemba Walker away from the Charlotte Hornets, because I think they're gonna be throwing him a ton of money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It does he want the money? The thing is with Kemba, it's like, do you want to come home, or do you really want to tie your future to Michael Jordan putting your team together?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're choosing Jordan, then you're truly choosing the money, and if you're choosing the win, then you're gonna come here.
Fair enough.
Let's go Kemba at the 1. I'm going RJ Barrett at the 2. Knox at the 3. Kevin Durant at the 4. at the 5. That is my prediction starting lineup.
Who,
I
who,
don't
who was
think
that?
we
Who was
get
at the 5 there? It got cut off for a second.
Mitchell
Robinson at the 5.
Robinson at the
Okay.
5. So what I'm saying is I don't think we get Zion. I think we end up with the 3rd pick. All right, that's your 2 guard. I don't think Kyrie comes. I think the Celtics end up trading Tatum and getting Anthony Davis, which keeps Kyrie in Boston. And I think we still get our 2 guys in Kemba Walker and Kevin Durant in free agency. So Kemba Walker at the 1, 2, Kevin Knox at the 3, or Mitchell Robinson at the 5. I think that's the start of 5 going into next year.
All right. So how many wins is that team getting? I feel like that's probably. I mean, Anthony Davis and Kyrie is pretty deadly, but I think that's definitely like a top 2 or 3 team at least in the Eastern Conference.
I think that can be depending on how you fill out the bench. Give me 52 wins.
52 wins. Yeah, then of course you gotta, if Kawhi is gonna stay on, in the Eastern Conference or go somewhere else too. So it really depends on how other teams
give me
build up,
52 wins, and I think that may be good for 3rd or 4th in the East.
And do you see that team competing for the championship, or do you think it would take a few seasons just due to like chemistry and things like that?
Well, I think it depends on how dominant of a team the Milwaukee Bucks can become, because I don't think it's going to come out of Philly and Toronto. They always have that element of soft to them.
Right.
They don't really have that killer instinct to put teams away. So I think it comes down to how dominant can the Greek Freak become over these next few years. And would Milwaukee become an unstoppable team? I don't see it. So, yeah, I think the East is attainable. Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, anytime you got Kevin Durant, too, I mean, you're going to make some sort of run out there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if Boston gets Anthony Davis, that's a different story.
Right.
That's a different story. So, certainly they would have to be considered the favorites, but we'll see, man. Yeah.
So a few questions here, like outside of the current team. Just people were kind of curious about this. So what are your thoughts been about Carmelo Anthony and kind of like how things have unfolded for him since he was traded away?
Man, I got to tell you, from Melo came onto the scene at Syracuse, took his team through the NCAA tournament and into the league. He's been my favorite player. When he came to the Knicks, I was thrilled, even though the trade wasn't to our favor. I blindly accepted it because I just wanted to see Melo in the Knicks uniform, and I rode with him through it. I think it's been tough, man. It's tough to see him not go out on his own terms. When you look at the pageantry that D Wade had, that Dirk Nowitzki had this season, the accolades that they got league wide. I think Melo deserves that, not because, he didn't win a championship, but if you look at interviews from guys, his peers during his playing time, to LeBron, to Kevin Durant, when they ask who is the toughest player you ever had to guard, the answer is unanimous: Carmelo Anthony. He was one of the best scorers in the league at that time, probably second only to Kevin Durant. They were neck and neck during that streak. So it's tough to see him not go out on his own terms. I don't know if it's an ego thing, if he just can't adjust to, a bench role, because clearly that's what teams are looking for. I never thought the Rockets thing would work because him and D'Antoni never got along to begin with. So I knew that was going to fizzle, but I was surprised it fizzled that fast, I guess. So overall, disappointed, man. I hope he bounces back somewhere.
Do you think his style of play is outdated?
He's outdated. I think teams could always use a scorer off the bench. I mean, if you want to tell me that his defense is so terrible that, he can't give you 15 solid minutes off the bench, or, is he still a ball stopper if he comes off the bench? I mean, I don't think it's outdated.
Okay.
I don't think it's outdated. I think he can still play. He just has to find the right opportunity.
I agree. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Kristaps Porzingis, just because, you're a huge Knicks fan here. So what were your initial thoughts about Porzingis being traded, and kind of what is your mindset now, a few months later?
And I was stunned. I was shocked. I was disappointed. I was pissed off. That was our franchise player.
You guys love that, man. I mean, Knicks fan they loved him.
He embraced him, man.
Yep.
Forget about the people that say you booed him on draft night. Listen, that was a couple of people in the arena and it happens in any draft by any team. This city embraced KP. KP brought the Garden back. He electrified the Garden when they were tough times. But all of a sudden, a week or two before the trade deadline, hear that snowballed in one day. In that one day, at first it was like, well, KP intends to meet with management because he's not happy with the team. Players do that. And then the next story that released was like, KP has informed management that he would like to be traded. And you're like, whoa. You know what I mean? Escalated. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, KP traded to the Mavericks. We're like, what the hell is going on, man?
What's up, Dennis Smith?
Literally happened that fast where we couldn't even understand what was going on. And did a live stream that night, man. We had over 1,000 people tuning in, Knicks fans calling in, expressing their opinions. I was disappointed, man. And I was definitely disappointed. But I think the overall consensus was that, he didn't want to be here. Regardless of who it is, if a player doesn't want to be here, then it is what it is. Then he becomes the enemy.
Yep,
you know what I mean? It's time to move on. So, there's three sides to a story. There's a team side, there's KP side, and there's the truth. I don't think we'll ever find out the truth behind why he wanted to leave. Certainly there was, the Phil Jackson situation. Phil Jackson and his camp and KP's camp didn't get along. Phil Jackson, as it was known, wanted to trade KP last draft. Not last offseason, 2 off seasons ago, he wanted to trade KP to Phoenix, trying to get Devin Booker and potentially Josh Jackson. Fell through, and supposedly the KP camp wasn't agreeing with it. There's all kind of speculation as to why he left. But like I said, bottom line, he didn't want to be here. And I think, the Knicks management got the best deal that they could. Had all of their objectives, getting some young players, getting some draft picks, and being able to trade Tim Hardaway Jr. and Courtney Lee, which would get them the ability to sign 2 max players this offseason. So right. We'll see how it pans out, but I can't knock the trade.
Okay. That is all the questions I have for you. Is there any sort of closing thoughts or any last things you want to say about your team or about your brand or anything like that?
Hey, listen, just calling all Knicks fans, man. First off, I appreciate KrispyFlakes for having me on. Definitely got to get you on as well. Maybe when the Knicks and the Pistons clash this season, next season, we'll definitely do some collaborating. But hey, any Knicks fans that want to call in, express their opinions on the team, the channel, the show is open to everybody. All opinions are welcome. It's youtube.com/KnicksFanTV. As you said, I'm on the way to 10,000 subscribers, man. So need all the help, all the support I can get from my fellow Knicks fans worldwide. Definitely check me out, man. But KrispyFlakes, definitely appreciate you having me on, bro.
No problem, CP. Glad having you on, bro. But yeah, guys, links to all this stuff in the description below, so go check them out. Go-to place for Knicks fans. So yeah, thank you guys all so much for watching. As always, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace out, my friends.